Okay. All right. Peace and shalom, family. Peace and shalom. It's your brother Divine Prospect of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries back in the building. All praise to the Most High Yah, and Baruch to y'all who have showed up. All praises. All praises. All right. So another Friday. We'll be doing another Freestyle Friday, back by popular demand. We are attempting to stay consistent now that a lot of things are settled on my end to be more frequent with our Freestyle Fridays every Friday around this time. Now, we may sneak in a session that's a little later because I know a lot of people prefer a later evening session because a lot of people often work and so forth, and it syncs best with the West Coast timing or PST. So I understand that, but we will try to adapt accordingly based on the requests of our viewers. All right. So I want to say all praise to the Most High Yah, and all praise to the Most High for the preparation day right before the Shabbat. For most of us, there are some of y'all who have a different Shabbat. You have a lunar Shabbat, and there's those of y'all that have a rotating Shabbat. So those of you who have those Shabbats, I want to say all praise to the Most High as well. Right? I'm not going to shame Israel in their attempts to stay true to Most High statute, laws, and commandments, and we will all be unified when He returns. All right. So all praises. All right. So as you can see from the title, those of you who are familiar with Chicago urban culture see the topic, and it may look a little disrespectful. Trust me, it's not intended to be disrespectful. It is definitely intended to bring y'all on over here for this conversation. And I got to give a little background before we get into, the subject matter, the meat and potatoes. But first and foremost, let's get started with the housekeeping items. First and foremost, family, the best way to support this channel is going to our Patreon, www.patreon.com/Divine Prospect. Over there, you would find exclusive videos, contents. You'll see videos that I have not released on here, my academic blog, my academic papers. You'll see courses for Hebrew language, for Ugaritic language, for Syriac language, for Arabic language, for Akkadian language, for Aramaic language. All those courses over there as well. We have a complete audio Bible that's there as well. We have paid websites for research that's over there. We have Bible study software that's over there, paid software that you can get access to. We have tons of books and articles that you can get access to from my library. Combined, there's over 1,200 books and articles over there. And tons of other stuff that you cannot get on the YouTube channel or find on social media that I have over there on the Patreon. So when you sign up for the Patreon, you're going to tap in on one of those tiered subscriptions. I would say the best tiered subscription to get is anywhere between the $20 and $50. There is some benefits that you get, obviously, with the $50 over the $20. One of the major benefits of the $50 tier is the KHM Holistic Research Paradigm for Bible Study classes. You get access to those classes. We will begin our next session shortly, which would be the low intertextual analysis. And then we got a high intertextual analysis right after that. And if you don't know what that means, you have to check out the introduction video to the KHM ancient, let me say ancient, but KHM Holistic Research Paradigm for Bible Study classes. There's an introduction video. It goes over what this pre-exilic element means when we talk about things, because that is how we try to reconstruct the text within that pre-exilic context, the text that actually apply to it. But then there are also texts that were created in exile and post-exile. So we keep those intact as well. But the foundation stems on the Torah, and the Torah is created during the pre-exilic era. Pre-exilic era would be from the time of Abraham until 586 BCE, when the Babylonians finally sieged Jerusalem a second time and carried them away captive, as we see in the book of 2 Kings 17. All right. So with that said, family, let's go on and build up. Want to put that out there for the Patreon, best way to support this channel. There's other ways you can support us as well. We have a Square link if you want to support via credit card, debit card, or whatever the case may be. And then we also have a link for the Cash App in the description if you want a Cash App as well. If there's anything that we can do to support you or to give back to you, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions on improvements, a prayer request that you need, a consultation request, if you want a consultation with me or with KHM, there's a link in the description below, and we're going to take care of that. This year, remember, is the year that we're implementing the covenant social reconstruction model. If you don't know what that is, then link up to the Patreon, take a look at the research paper, and then page M so you can join us on our journey to take what we learn from scriptures and make it practical as a means to alleviate and mitigate the societal ills that is experienced in the Black community today and abroad. We're not playing games over here. We have a long history of doing this work. It goes back into 2014, me doing, actually 2013, me doing active activism or proactivism, I like to call it. Proactivism is the best way to do activism. What is proactivism? Activism is you respond to something that has happened in society, that's happened in a community, like police brutality, poverty, ICE, or whatever the case may be. And then you respond to that. You put a protest in place, a march in place, or something else in place that you do as a response to that societal ill. Proactivism is you put measures in place to prevent, mitigate, and reduce that societal ill before it even becomes a phenomenon that detrimentally affects the community. That's the type of work that we do, right? And we pull everything, all our principles for the foundations on how we address activism in the community come from scripture. We do so in various ways, creating think tanks, pushing the CSRM, creating products, goods, services, and programs. And all these things combined is a way that we do our part to do our Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 7, where the Most High says, seek the peace of the city. And do what on its behalf? Pray on its behalf or interpose on its behalf before the Most High so that in its peace, you have peace. The goal is to create some breathing room until Yah returns. And the only way we could do that is prepare his people to be able to receive him. And to do so, we have to terraform our cities, our suburbs, and the rural areas that we have access to into refuge cities and Goshens. And that is our goal. So join us. Click on the link in the description below. Sign up for KHM and let's get to work. So we have the educational arm and we have the activism arm of this ministry. All right. If you want to get involved in both, tap in. If you're only interested in one over the other, tap in. Either way, it's the best way for you to activate all the superpowers that Yah has imbued you with to actually fulfill its purpose in society. So that way it can reflect the work that's been embedded in you to carry out, which is building the kingdom. Kingdom work, we're here to lay the foundation. We can't build the kingdom, whole kingdom of earth, but we can lay the cornerstone, lay the foundation so Yah can come and top it off with the house, the place that has many mansions that Yeshua says that he has prepared for us in the Father's house. That same house will make its way here onto the earth in the form that he decides to manifest it. All right. Okay. All right, family. So we're about to get started. Trying to get started. So we got some interesting things to talk about. So that is some of the what I call housekeeping items that we have to address when we start the show. The KHM leadership says, Divine, you have to continuously speak about membership for KHM. Also, we have a KHM gaming guild. Why y'all not sign up for that? A lot of y'all are gaming out there. So a way we could do ministry by working collaboratively together and playing games strategically so we can learn how to work with one another, because we're going to be working with each other while we build in the kingdom and while we're in the kingdom. So why not use games as a way to formulate that process now? We have a gaming guild and we have several other groups in KHM. If you're interested in music and making music, we have a music ministry. We have a gardening ministry. We have a ministry for our services and our programs. We have tons of stuff. That's why you got to sign up to KHM. You get to see what it is. And then also, we give you the video that we did that tells you the immediate benefits you get for signing up to KHM. And then when you look at the onboarding process, you'll be able to see in that video everything else that comes along with the KHM. And as far as chapter launches, we are looking to launch 2 to 3 more chapters this year, y'all willing. If you're interested in having a KHM chapter in your city, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. If you want to know what the heck is a KHM chapter launch, go to this channel, to the playlist, and look for the KHM chapter launch playlist, and you'll get an idea of what it is that we attempt to accomplish when we come to your city. All right? Okay. All right. So now that we got that out the way, that's our housekeeping items. I'm going to transition quickly because I got about a little hour and some change to work. Okay, I got you, Yachens, 1 second. All right. Just want to make sure that we got that housekeeping out the way. Now transitioning from there. Any updates that we have coming up, I've shared with y'all. I'm going to share it again. The dates for the feast days. We're going to bring that up. Feast day dates. And every year we go into something concerning the feast days. So the 2026 KHM Ancient Pre-Exilic Israelite Moedim. Passover is April 15th, 2026. Feast of Unleavened Bread, April 16th, 2026. Feast of Weeks, June 7th, 2026. Feast of Trumpets, September 27th, 2026. Day of Atonement, October 6th, 2026, Feast of Tabernacles, October 11th, 2026, and the last great day, October 18th, 2026. KHM religious accommodation letters are available for any of these days off, or if you need the Shabbat off, we also give you an accommodation letter for that as well. If you want those details, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. Now, like I said, I don't shame anybody for attempting to keep the Most High's Shabbats, his Sabbaths, his set apart feast days. I don't shame anybody, right? We'll all know the truth when we get taken out of here. When he gathers us and brings all together, he will reveal the truth to us. In the interim, some people are closer to that truth than others. But I would say that as far as we know, there is no absolute answer. However, there are just some that are warmer than others. So I typically, based on, requests, put on notice all other calendrical models against the ancient pre-exilic sacerdotal menological model. My opinion that it is superior to the other models out there because based on a gap analysis, there are shortcomings that other calendrical models have that do not align with the pre-exilic model as a live calendrical system, that it is administrative and that can be shown to be detailed, to be utilized within the Tanakh. We don't go into detail about that. All right. All right. So with that being said, let's give a couple of shout outs and we're going to dive into this, right? I'm going to show you some comments that was left on a previous video that sparked me to speak on this Shabbat. We're going into the Shabbat, right? 7th day of the week begins at sunset. And we're going to deal with that and any other questions that may arise in the process. So right now, today, we're going to smoke on that Enochian calendar pack. And then if anybody else brings a calendrical model outside of that to the table, we will address that as well. Okay. All right. And again, this is not here to denigrate and reduce the relevance, the critical relevance and importance of the contributions of the Yachad community with the scrolls that they have preserved. This is not designed to do. I'm here to show you what that system is and what it isn't. That's all I'm here to do, right? And if anybody disagrees with that, I'll welcome said challenge. as we do the show. But I need you to jump on stage and have a dialogue. Now, you can leave comments and questions in the chat, but if I'm really going to invest time to go back and forth, I need you on this stage. All right? So hopefully that can be done. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and give some shout outs and let's get started. Shout out to Yemyahu in the building. Shalom. Yan-B5R. Shalom. Lin01 in the building. Shalom. Family still matters. Because yes, family does still matter in the building. Shalom. Apothecary Custom 376. Shalom. Mr. Jeshuron 144. Let me know if you did that presentation on John 1:1. Let me know. All right, and how that went. Ice you cold in the building. Shabbat shalom or shalom mishpachah. All right, Yashawn Apash in the building. Shalom. Mac the Messianic. Shalom. NHIT Nazarene Hebrew Institute. Shalom, brother Devon. Been trying to get you on my small platform to do a lecture. Hopefully one day, my brother. Yes. What do you want me to lecture on, my brother? Let me know. If you have a request or if you want me to choose something, I could do it and I can give an exclusive lecture on your channel. Just let me know, my brother. I'm here to support you. You, my brother, you an elder in the community. All praise to the Most High, man. Go ahead and support that brother's channel as well to the rest of y'all. Shout out to AZ Bound 3. Shalom. Shout out to Ahabalam. .o.h.a83. Shalom. Tiffany Smith in the building with us. She said, great resources on Patreon. Thanks. Of course. That's my due diligence to serve the community. Shalom. And my Isha in the building, natural beginning. Shalom. Shalom, my Isha. Yachez said, Shalom. Off topic, but for Passover, the lamb must be slain at evening. How could they see at night? Well, they would use candles. Or if it was early in time, they would use oil lamps. So they had ways that they can still see at night. So when we read Exodus 12, and I'll go over this with you real quick, my brother. That's a good question. Let's go to Exodus 12. All right. Remember, this is happening the evening that the angel of death is going out to kill the firstborn, which is the last plague. All right. So we have to take that into account. All right. So let me go ahead and bring it up on here for you. No problemo. All right. Here we go. All right. So it says, then Moshe called all the elders of Israel and said to them, go and select lambs for yourselves according to your clans and kill the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin and touch the lintel and the two doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. None of you shall go out of the door of his house until the morning. So remember, the Passover lamb is slain in between the evening. So during the twilight period, where there is still a glimmer of light. Remember, there are 3 layers of twilight. There's your astronomical, there's your nautical, and then there's your civil twilight. So astronomical would be where it's still dark, but some light is arising. Nautical, where there's a little bit more light, right? And then civil is more light than usual, but work can still be done where you can still see your hands when you stretch it out in front of you, right? So if it's going from evening to morning, it's going to go from astronomical to nautical to silver. If it's going the opposite around from day to night, it's going to go from civil to nautical to astronomical. So typically they would slay the lamb during civil twilight, transition into nautical twilight. So that is a period of time. There's still some light outside, and you can complement that light with oil lamps in order to perform this act. Right? So it's not done in pitch blackness outside. It's done when it's slaughtered outside and then it's brought inside to be cooked. All right. And be prepared for consumption. All right. Then it says, for Yah will pass through to strike the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, Yah will pass over the door and will not allow the destroyer to enter your house to strike you. All right. Now, let's keep going. Verse 29. What does it say? At midnight, Yah struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where someone was not dead. Now let's go back up. What it says: take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and touch the lintel and the two doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. None of you shall go out of his door of his house until the evening. Right? So until the morning, because during the evening time, this is when this act, verse 23, is happening. So here is when they're to do that. Now, when we go to Leviticus chapter 23, we jump down right here. It says, these are the appointed feasts of the Most High, the holy convocations, which you shall proclaim at the time appointed for them. And the first month on the 14th day of the month at what? At twilight is Yah's Passover. That's when it is. During this time is when you slaughter the lamb and you bring the lamb itself indoors to cook and prepare it. Right? Now, when it says, when it has this a footnote, it says Hebrew is between the two evenings. That means you're doing it between the previous evening and that evening that's coming. And it's believed to be that window of time of twilight when the sun is about to set, because this has to be prepared and done before midnight. Because at midnight, that's when the destroyer came to kill the firstborn. All right. So hopefully that begins to answer that question for you, my brother. All right. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. All right. Okay. Love, light, and balance to all. Faith, this man, Yahoo Savage, shalom. Crazy Flow 1K, shalom. Ahabalam, OHA, shalom, brother. What is your perspective on insulin when it comes to diabetes versus pregnancy? Wow, that is a whole unrelated question, my brother, but I would love to answer that. If you have any questions, medical questions, right, like this, medicinal questions, or questions about herbs, naturopathic remedies, regimens, etc., email us at naturalpathtoeating@gmail.com. Natural path to eating. I'll put it in the chat, right? And then it can be echoed by one of my mods that's in the building. All right. Send it here, my brother, and we'll take care of that. All right. Shout out to Jay Fearson in the building. Shalom, brother Deji. What's going on, my Clubhouse brother? Brother. Shalom. Raphael PN8UE. Shalom. Simply Save 1519. Shalom, my brother. What's going on? Okay, I got you, Mr. Jeshuron. No problem. Okay, yeah. Aishuko, email that to me, my brother. Email that to me. I know that's already fire. All right. All right. What are some practical ways to seek the peace of the city? Or is there some good books or subjects to study like civil law? Get the CSRM manual. Take a look at it. What I can also do for you as well is suggest you take a look at the KHM chapter launch videos, which I'm sure, Yamahu, I'm sure you've watched them. But in there, I do give examples on how to do that, right? So go back and check out that playlist of those sessions that we did, the chapter launch sessions that be in there, and look at the CSRM as a reference point, because it shows how to install the Sabbath, how to install a Jubilee, how to install the gate course, it teaches you how to do this, because this is how we seek the peace of the city. All right, great question though. All right, shout out to Goldmine ENT LLC. Shalom. Let me see. Yeah, they had Hertz inside in the house, and we see that. So actually, I gave a good resource in the past. I'll share it with you here. All right, so this source is called Family and Household Religion Toward a Synthesis of Old Testament Studies, Archaeology, Epigraphy, and Cultural Studies. All right. This is by Rainer Alberts, Beth Albert Nakai, Saul M. Olayam, and Ruggier Smith. Okay. So in here, they show you what the layout of the 4-room house was in Israel. Paste it in there. All right. Show you what that 4-room house is in Israel and show you it actually had a hurt. So sometimes they had it outdoors. Sometimes they had it inside. Sometimes it was communal when it was outdoors. And sometimes it would be regulated to indoors in the living room area. All right. All right. Let's see. Shout out to Sister Jaslyn Berry in the building. Shalom, sis. Thank you for the patronage and support as always. Bain Lawrence, Shalama Moreiran. I just now, after 9 years of this walk, realized that first fruits is during unleavened bread. Yes. So the Sabbath after unleavened bread is first fruits. And then you count 50 days after that to get you Feast of Weeks, so your Shavuot. Yep, definitely. Shout out to Messenger of Emmanuel. Shalom. Wide awake in the building. Wide awake. Let's go. Oh, praises. Let me see. Cyrus, I'm related to the calendar, but do you view Matthew 24:15 as a future prophecy in addition to 70 AD as it relates to the abomination and desolation? And would the temple be human body now? No, that temple is not talking about a human body. It is talking about in relation to what's happening to 70 AD. However, it's Pesherin. It's a Peshar because the historical fulfillment of that prophecy in Daniel already occurred during the Maccabean era. So what Yeshua is doing is using Pesherin here to showcase that now, given the conditions, a similar event is going to occur prophetically in 70 AD. So that incident has already occurred in 70 AD. However, there are some elements of it that are yet to be fulfilled. So that will push us into an eschatological phase where those future events that have not yet been fulfilled will be fulfilled. So, for example, there were elements of the prophecy in Daniel that did not occur. Some say, oh, but it's probably rhetoric or it's probably hyperbole or whatever. It could be, or it could be elements that are yet to be fulfilled because certain conditions was not met to qualify for every phenomenon to occur. So, for example, Daniel says that after these things happen, then what are we going to have after that? Well, the kingdom will be given to the saints. Well, that didn't happen yet. Then Yeshua says, okay, well, the rest of that fulfillment is going to occur in 70 AD. Well, it did, but the end did not come yet. The Son of Man is not in the sky. Preterists would say, yes, and we would tell preterists, no, you don't have patristic history to show that that's the case. So there are still elements that's still to come. It has nothing to do with the temple being a human body. That would be something completely different. And that will be in the realm of reincarnation, that the temple is symbolic of an actual human body that will possess or things would occur to as is referenced in scripture. All right. So hopefully that begins to address that. I got you. Shalom was the event. So shout out to Gels MSK. Shalom was the event in Judges 21:21 great. Okay, let's go ahead and see that. Let's go ahead and Judges 21:21. All right. And this is the issue or the beef with Benjamin. Okay. So in 21:21, you said Judges 21:21, and they command the people of Benjamin, saying, go and lie in ambush in the vineyards and watch. If the daughters of Shiloh come out to dance in the dances, then come out of the vineyards and snatch each man his wife from the daughters of Shiloh and go to the land of Benjamin. And when their fathers or their brothers come to complain to us, we will say to them, grant them graciously to us. No, that is not great. That was a way to replenish the tribe of Benjamin after the great battle in Judges chapter 20. So no, that language there is not language used for grape. It is language used for a man seducing a woman to become his wife. Right? Very similar to the lecture I did with Shechem and Dinah. Shechem and Dinah, I go into detail about, very similar to what we see in Judges. And I think I used that portion of Judges as an example in that lecture. So no, it was not grape. Not at all. All right. All right. Let me see. Who else we got up in here? Finished. Walton's lecture on Genesis 1. Thank you for the recommendation. Anytime, King. All praises. Daywalker 7 in the build. We got Wide Awake and Daywalk in the build. That sounds like a superhero duo right there, man. That's crazy work. All praises to the Most High. You gotta be wide awake to be a daywalker. All praises. Question: would you provide scriptures to help guide my family to truth as it relates to illegal immigration? We want to be in alignment with Yah. Thanks. Tiffany Smith, that's an excellent question. I would say email us kingdomharbinger@gmail.com so we can address that for you. Okay, no problem. All right. Shalom Aki, is wine allowed during Pesach? I don't see why it's not. There's no prohibitions not to drink wine during that time period. And I myself do drink grape juice. But if it's collectively with other groups outside my family, then I'll sip on a little wine. All right. Red wine. But yeah, there's no prohibitions against wine on Pesach. I haven't seen that. All right. How would you encourage someone to respond when they have to work on the Shabbat but are criticized and mocked by so-called Christians at their church for not keeping the Sabbath? Okay. The key thing is several things. Number one, we're in captivity. So being in captivity, there's going to be some conditions that will force us to have to work on the Shabbat. It's not because we intently and premeditatively want to work on the Sabbath to be a lawbreaker. That is not our intent. We're in captivity, and as such, this nation does not respect the Most High Shabbat. And because that's the case, now some of us are forced to have to work on that day. It's not because we want to, it's because that is the condition is in. Individuals that have to work on the Shabbat must strive to do several things. Continue to work and be purposeful on your job. Yah's blessed you with it. Continue to work. While you're working, you must find a means to have the Shabbat off, and we can assist with that. KHM, we offer religious accommodation letters for those who need the Shabbat off and for feast days off. So you can reach out to us and we can assist with that. Or number two, pray to the Most High that he will deliver you another role or promotion or another job somewhere else that will allow you to have the Shabbat off so that you may honor his set apart day every week, right? But do not quit your job. Do not scorn or sneer at your job because of such. You're there for a reason. Do your work. Do it to the best of your ability so that when you make that request to have the Shabbat off, there should be no opposition to it. So if Christians are belittling that individual for not keeping the Shabbat, simply ask the Christian, can I work for you? Because if I can work for you and you can pay all my expenses, then I can keep this set apart Shabbat. If you're not willing to help accommodate me as a Christian, scripture says, bear with one another's burdens. My burden is I'm working on the Shabbat and I don't want to. I need you to help me to bear that burden as a Christian. So you help to find me a way so that I do not have to work on the Shabbat. Case closed. All right, next question. Anytime, my brother. All right, off being wise, brother. Off topic, but do you still have the KHM necklaces available? You remember the KHM necklace? All praise to most. I still have that. I just have a little. I just need a few more beads on it because I had popped one time because my daughter popped it. So I got to put a few more beads on it before I can rock it again. But if you are interested in getting a KHM necklace, you must be a KHM member. You got to be 100% all in. And if you are a KHM member, then we can get you a version of the KHM necklace. All praise to the Most High. Appreciate you bringing up, brother. It's throwback. That goes to show you pay attention to a lot of detail. All praise to the Most High. All right, I'm trying to get through these questions. I told you, I got smoke on that pack. You got to give me some time to smoke on that pack. All right. What resources would you recommend if one is trying to create a document showing an accurate account of the commandments in the Torah instead of the 613? Wow. Excellent question. Excellent question. So I will provide that for you. Give me about a week or so and I'll create the document for you, brother. All right. Just email the request to kingdomharbinger@gmail.com so you can sit in the queue. So once it's created, we can deploy it out to you. All right. All praises. Bougie water drinking and building shalom. What is going on? You love Yah. Shalama, Mishpaka, Yasharel, Shalom. What is the validity of the cedar plate and the cinnamon apple paste, the egg, the horseradish, eating fast and leading back? That is part of what we would call the halacha as it pertains to carrying out Passover in exile. So that's what Jewish people do, and that is part of their oral tradition. So if you're interested in that, I have some great books I can share with you. Email me at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com and I'll share the resources with you. All right, great question. All right. Does KHM still sell lot stones? Yes, we do, Yahez. You can definitely email us your request at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com and we'll get you over the link and you can purchase yours ASAP. All praises, all praises. All right, let me see. All right, y'all. That's enough questions. That's enough questions. I gotta dive into this. But I'll answer yours, Jay Fearson. No more questions, family. No more questions. All right. If you want to continue to ask questions, jump over to the Patreon. We have a chat section in Patreon. You can ask your questions there on the Patreon, or you can email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com, and we will do our best to answer the questions in the order in which they were received. All praises. All right. So let me see what's going on. Timothy Kinney says, Shalom Aki, being that Enoch and other sectarian works were written just before the Hellenic age, well, it was actually written during the Hellenistic age. What constitutes canonical from an Israelite perspective? Canonical from the Israelite perspective will be the parts of the Tanakh that we can showcase as pre-exilic. All right. That would be the best ones to start off first. And the elements within the Torah that's pre-exilic, because not all the Torah that we have today is in that pristine format. A lot of it has interpolation, doublets, and other elements of it to show either scribal mistakes or scribal insertions that occur into the text over time, and that's what we call the interpolation. And through textual criticism, we can discover what these elements are and reconstruct the original, right? The original is encapsulated in the Torah. There are some elements of what we have that are missing, but we can reconstruct the earliest portions of it as we can, looking at language, doing textual criticism, and comparing to other sister cultures and sister texts that existed during the late Bronze Age and Iron Age period. Okay, so that reconstruction can be done, right? But the book of Enoch, the fragments, that's the key word that we found at Qumran. We don't have a fully attested version at Qumran. What you get is the Ethiopic version and the Slavonic version. And those two versions have differences amongst them. And then there are some differences between the fragments that we get from Qumran and the Ethiopic version and the Slavonic version. There's manuscript A, B, C, and a D that exists that is reconstructed to represent all of these different versions. And then there's internal inconsistencies amongst the book of First Enoch. And the question of canonicity with the second and third Enoch as well. There's a lot of things to dive into when it comes to the book of Enoch, or what we can consider something that constitutes a canonical form of the Tanakh. The form in which the Tanakh is in today, it is not the one that was given to the ancestors who wrote them. The ones we have today are heavily redacted and heavily edited. But most of the original, I would say about 90% of the original, is encapsulated within the Tanakh that we have today. So we do have most of the original there, and most textual critics agree with this for both the Tanakh and the Brit Hadashah of the New Testament, right? So there's a way to reconstruct that, right? Now, I'm going to shout out School of Skills Inc. in the chat because he never likes to jump on camera. But I'm going to call him out in a second. He's going to transition to the second part. Let me answer this last question. We're going to transition. All right, so let's go ahead. My job, trying to delete my position. I had my Shabbat off, and my boss will let me have new moons. This was the only job where I was allowed this. Well, if we can write you a letter, and that can make a difference for you, just let us know. Email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. All right? Okay, so let me see. Would you consider the Ipuwer papyrus proof of the Exodus being documented by Egypt? It's well known they didn't record history that made them look bad. No, I would not say that. What I would say, because Ipuwer was a scribe, right? And he wrote this not to be literal history, but he wrote this to be analogous of what the Semitic hordes have caused to occur in Egypt. So it has a lot of figurative elements in there. There are some things in it that relate to the Exodus account, but he's not writing this about the Exodus account. Matter of fact, he's writing this in the Middle Kingdom before there's even an Exodus, right? So it wouldn't be the same thing, right? However, the Egyptians have a history of blaming the Semites for various things that occurs in Egypt. And this is something that the Exodus plays off of, right? So that was a great question right there. But no, I would not say that. But there are similarities with the Exodus account, because a lot of Egyptians equate the various issues, the famines, the plagues, and stuff that come upon Egypt. A lot of times they do blame it on the Semites, which is nasty work. Nasty work. But good question nonetheless. All right. You have the worst Dead Sea Scrolls books in your library. Hey, yo, this is crazy, man. Hey, yo, brother, I just need you to chill for 1 second. I'm gonna need you to chill for 1 second. You know what I do, brother, when it comes to the Dead Sea Scrolls? I'm gonna show you the type of work that I got, brother, that you wish you had. Hey, watch this, y'all. I'm gonna show you this. Now, yo, our resident troll is back. And anytime you mention the Dead Sea Scroll, he pops up. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. You can't make this up, bro. Make this up. You can't make this up. But I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you, since he said you have the worst. You do. You have the worst. Yo, this is hilarious, bro. But I'm gonna show you. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Listen, I told y'all, leave me alone. I don't be messing with y'all. Y'all be messing with me. Why y'all messing with me, bro? Leave me alone. I don't bother y'all ninjas, but ninjas want to bother me. It's okay. You're going to learn today. And when you have this in your library, then we can chat. All right? When you have this in your library, then we can chat. I'm going to show this to you. Hey, let me first deal with the Torah. It is crazy work. Hey, this is crazy work. Come on, bro. Come on. Why are you doing this, man? All right, watch this, bro. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share this film. And after this, we're gonna put this work on. This is light work. See this, brother? I have transcript. No, not just the transcripts. I'm gonna show you the actual plates. This is what I work with. This is what I work with, brother. You see that? This is for 1Q2 Exodus from Cave 1, Fragment 2, chapter 16, 19, 20, 21. Then I go into the actual fragment plate. And then I also make comparisons with it and the Masoretic text as it pertains to the biblical text. And then I have the same thing for the non-biblical text. Brother, you don't do this type of work to tell me that I have the wrong books. My ninja, I go to the primary. You don't go to the primary. What are we talking about right here, bruh? You don't go to the primary. All right. When you have the primaries, then we could talk. I don't need a book. I go to the primary. That's the difference between me and you, bro. That's why I can write papers on this. This is why I can have conversation with scholars on this. Because I go to the primary. It's the same thing that they do. I use a similar methodology as well of interpretation. You don't do that. Now, you could learn to do that if you join our class. If you go to the KHM, Holistic Research Paradigm for Bible Study classes, we can teach you how to do this work. But you're too stubborn for that, brother. Too stubborn. But yet you're here every Friday. You know, there's some people that chase clout and they try to build a name for themselves off of somebody else's work that they had laid down. That's what we're dealing with there with my brother, School of Skills Inc. I still consider him my brother, but he's my wayward brother. He always comes in here and try to stir stuff up. It don't work. Now, I'm going to use you and my case study of what I'm about to present. You got the wrong books. And then you showed them the transcriptions. You showed them. Let me show you the plates. I go here. This is where I go to look at the plates, brother. Let me show you. Let me show you, brother. And I share this all the time with y'all. Brother, I don't do what you do, man. I don't do the research that you do. We don't research the same, bro. We don't research the same. We don't research the same. Why are you bothering me? Why are you bothering me? We don't research the same. I'm gonna show you, brother. Watch this. Let me put this here. Let me have a conversation with this brother. Let me do this real quick. Because he never joins the panel. Brother, let's go over this here right quick. Let's go over this here. Let's transcribe this together. Let me know when you're ready to transcribe this together. I'm gonna wait. Let's go over this together since I have the worst books. My ninja, I'm looking at the primary. Let's deal with the primary. What are we dealing with right here? Can you tell me what cave this is based on paleography? Huh? Can you tell me if this is a biblical text or a non-biblical text based on its structure? Huh? Brother, I'm asking you a question. Let's go through the primaries. Can you identify one word here? Huh? This is crazy work, bro. Crazy work, man. It's crazy work. Now I'm going to work him real quick. Pause. Now I'm going to smoke on the School of Skills Inc. pack. It's the best pack I ever smoked. You're about to see. I'm about to smoke this pack. Here we go. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program. Let's go. Hey, I told y'all, leave me alone. But it's okay. Now we're going to start here. 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 All right. Let's get started. Now, see, the issue is, and I'm going to be fair. He obviously has a misconception of what I said. I've been teaching this calendar since 2016. This June of 2026 will be 10 years since I did a public lecture on this subject matter. I address ad infinitum from that year, 2016 to today, the Enochian calendar. I used to subscribe to the Enochian calendar. I even created an intercalary that is necessary to resynchronize it with the seasonal year. Okay. All right. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. All right. My apologies on that. All right. Yo. You showing us the primary and you still got it wrong. Yo, this is crazy. Yo, you cannot make this up. Hey, the fatality didn't even come yet, bro. I'm a cook, but you gotta simmer. You gotta take your time with this. You gotta put it in that slow cooker pot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta let it marinate. You gotta let it simmer. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but I'm gonna work through it. So what I did was, because I've been teaching this for 10 years, this particular model that we have, I've been teaching the Enochian calendar model for 3 years, because I held to it for almost 3 years, overlapping with the model that I currently teach. I understand the calendar. I know the priestly courses. I'm telling you, the calendrical model you find at Qumran, which was not consistent. You have one that was 360, one was 364. I'm going to show you all the sources. I've been giving you all the books for years and all that. I decided to take my research and turn it into a paper, right? Or an essay. I say an essay, an extended essay, right? And the reason why I did that is because of the years that I've been dealing with the Enochian calendar, all the books that I've read, all the primaries that I see, all the scholars that I've interfaced at SBL and other conferences, because I'm speaking to experts in that field who specialize in this, right? So I'm not just making this stuff up. And I'm gonna give you an actual paper. Here, I'm gonna drop it here. Let me see if I can put it in the chat. If anybody want to research it, I'm gonna show you how to do this work. So I said, just leave me alone. Don't want to leave me alone. It's okay. I got this. Got this, bro. George Snyder Jr. already tore this up. There we go. There we go. That's his paper right there. What I'll do is I can share it on the Patreon if you want to see it on the Patreon. Right? Let me just give you a little bit of information right here. We're going to deal with this. This is light. This is light. Okay. All right. And my bibliography is also in this paper as well, if you want to know the sources that I use, etc. Right? So here's the thing, right? And look at, hey, School of Skills, slow down. Hey, one of the mods, time him out real quick. He's doing too much. Time him out real quick. Time him out, and then we're going to address it. And I have you on the Summer Jam screen. About to put you up in a second. And the only reason why I'm doing it, I can't say the only reason why I'm doing this, but I'm gonna say you're on the Summer Jam screen. Let's just say that. All right, let me put them up on that Summer Jam screen. Let's do that. Okay, put them up on that Summer Jam screen. All right, here we go. Now I'm gonna show the misconception. All right, and I'm addressing this out of respect for my brother Seth. All right, not School of Skills, but out of respect for my brother Seth. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. But this is my essay, Record in Time Within a Fixed Calendrical Model, the Theological Construction of Time at Qumran and its Structural Limits as an Administrative System. I'm about to show you what's going on. Now, I'm not gonna reveal the entire essay. Go to the Patreon, you can get access to the entire essay. But I'm gonna show you several pages from this essay. All right, you can go back and read the rest if you're interested in this subject matter. All right. So let's pull up the Summer Jam screen first. Summer Jam screen. Some of y'all are young. You don't even know what a Summer Jam screen is. This is okay. Some of y'all don't know what it is. It's okay. It's okay. You can Google it and see what a Summer Jam. You put somebody up on the Summer Jam screen. All right. So there it is. Okay. So let's get into this, right? So this is my brother Seth right here. This is the brother that actually helps me put together the calendar that you guys receive, right? He says, Shalom Aki, could you please show or demonstrate how the Levitical Aaronic priesthood administered the 24 priestly courses within an 8-month calendar model? Now, I'm going to say what I said before, and I'm going to say it again. In order to calculate when the feast days occur, an 8-month calendar is reckoned for calculating when the feast days occur, from the month of Aviv to the month of Bul. The month of Aviv to the month of Bul. If your calendar does not reflect the month of Aviv, the month of Ziv, month 3, 4, 5, 6, Ethanim, and Bul, you have the wrong calendar. Actually, you don't have the wrong calendar. You have a calendar that was used post-exile. That's what kind of calendar you have. You don't have the one that was initially administrated from the Most High to Moshe. You're not using that calendar because your calendar months should only have 4 names. And they have 4 names for a reason, because they refer to something. Look up Ziv, look up Ethanim, look up Bul, see what they mean. And they are reckoned by the moon. If your calendar only uses solar days, then you are working asynchronously with the Torah prescribed calendar. I'm gonna go into detail about it. I'm gonna show you the theological construction behind the what we call the syncretic system, the schematic of the priestly order coming in alignment with the heavenly orders and arrangement. The heavenly orders and arrangements is a terrestrial order that Yah established in the antediluvian period. And what happens is over time, man has lost that course. This is what the book of Jubilees shows us. This is what the calendrical text in the book of Enoch teaches. Man has lost their course. But these priestly lines, the Zedekite priests at Qumran, are restoring that order. No, it's an apologetic to the times that are being changed or attempted to be changed by the who? The Hellenized Greeks. It is a response to a historical phenomenon that occurred that's documented in the book of Maccabees. This sect withdrew themselves from Jerusalem and into the Qumran caves, and they took with them some Zadok priests and some others, and they created an entire system that was there whose job was to restore what was lost. That was their attempt. We're going to go into that theological construction in 1 second. So what I'm simply trying to show y'all is it was not designed to be a lived calendar. It is designed to, with the structure that we have at Qumran, it's designed to teach you that the structure that was preserved at Qumran, the community rule, and everything else that we have shared at Qumran was in alignment with the heavenly order that Yah has established by revelation coming from Enoch. It is not designed to be a lived calendar. And I'm going to go into detail about that and explain you why. And again, I teach this every year this comes up, right? I just decided to put it in the paper now, right? So the brother said the 24 priestly courses within the 8th month calendar. Now listen to me. There's no way you can have the 8th month civil calendar, agricultural calendar. No, that's not what I said. I said within 8 months, that is a period in which the priests utilize to calculate and announce the beginning of months that are charted by the moon and the feast days. This is why there's no prescription in the Torah or even the entire Tanakh for intercalation. The moment you have to add days to resynchronize your calendar with the seasonal harvests that occur every year annually, you are doing something that is not being prescribed by the Tanakh. So he says specifically, how were the 24 divisions rotated, timed, and completed within that framework, and how does it align with the scriptural record? So what he's talking about here, you're not going to find this right here, what he's saying, the 24 divisions rotated, timed, and completed within that framework. Well, there's a reference to this order in First Chronicles 24, right? 7-19. But nowhere in there does it say that that order is to be in alignment with the heavenly bodies and what was revealed to Enoch. That's not mentioned in First Chronicles at all. So I agree, those divisions did exist. The 24 courses themselves are clearly established in First Chronicles chapter 24, verse 1-19, with ongoing service rotation implied by passages such as 2 Chronicles 23-8, Nehemiah 12, 1-7, 24, and the New Testament confirmation of an active course system in Luke 1-5. That's cool. We know there's an active course system in regards to the rotation of when the priests are to do their works in the temple. I completely understand that. The interesting thing is Qumran is nowhere near Jerusalem. It's not. So we're dealing with something completely different. So hold on 1 second. 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. So nowhere is it explicitly laid out that these courses for the priests is tied into an Enochian revelation or the heavenly bodies or the courses of the heavenly bodies. We don't see that anywhere in scripture. That's the key thing. This is a formulation after that fact. There's so much language in Enoch and in Jubilees that we know that this does not go back to the pre-exilic period. We know Hebrew language and its developmental stages. Okay. All right. But let me stay focused. Let's continue to read. Again, this is out of respect for my brother. All right. That's why I'm doing this. 24 courses themselves are clearly established. He goes on to it. Also, Israelite communities such as Qumran, who operated on a structured 12-month calendar, explicitly accounted for the 24 priestly courses as seen in the Mishmorot text, 4Q 320 to 330, where priestly rotations are synchronized with the annual calendar. I'd appreciate it if you could walk us through the mechanics step by step, showing how all 24 courses function coherently within the 8th month model while remaining consistent with the biblical text. Okay, so what I mentioned to you is the 8-month model was only for calculating time as it pertains to announcing when the feast days occur. When you go into Quran, they have other feast days that's not mentioned in scripture. They have other festivals, festival of wine, festival of oil, festival of sacrifice. They have other festivals that's in Qumran. That's not in scripture. We know the origin of where these things come from. It's not the pre-exilic period, but we know the origin where these things come from. What I'm saying is that 8th month period from Aviv to Bull, where the moon governs the month, that brings in the month, not the days from the sun. The days from the sun help with the calculations, but it does not bring in the month. If you want a 12-month period, that is a civil calendar. Remember, the priests are still operating. I never said the priests stopped operating after 8 months. I never said that. I never said that. I said after 8 months, the priests no longer need to calculate time for a feast day. That happens after exile. That's how you get Purim, and that's how you get Hanukkah. These are post-exilic feasts. This is when the introduction of new festival days get onto the calendar, where now that calculation time is extended. That wasn't the case prior. This is why these festivals of oil, wine, etc., that we find at Qumran are never mentioned in scripture. Okay. Because that construction doesn't occur until post-exile. That's the point. I didn't say that the 8th month period is when all the feast days are completed. That's why there's no intercalation. So now, when I get into this, I'm going to show you. We're going to start reading from my book now. All right. But that's that. Again, respect for my brother Seth. Shout out to brother Seth. School of Skills says all facts. This guy. So now I'm just this guy. No respect on my name. It's all Gucci. I don't know why you here on my channel when you don't put no respect on my name, but that's all good. You never want to show up on a panel, have a conversation. Cool. This guy's giving the impression that the Zadok priests worked only 8 months out the year. I didn't give that impression, and I never said that, which is totally incorrect and is not scripture. They worked all year. The Dead Sea Scrolls, 4Q 320, 321, 328 to 330 show that Zadok had a 6-year priestly rotation. With the new year assignments beginning in the spring, it matches Chronicles 24, 7 to 19. My brother Seth says the priesthood is the most important part of the puzzle. They had to know exactly when to offer the sacrifices. And so far, my studies indicate that they were using a 12-month calendar for them to complete their courses and temple work. You know what's interesting? Because the Qumran cave is nowhere near Jerusalem, what sacrifice and offering are they giving to the temple? They have a vestige of this information after separating and branching away from Jerusalem and retreating to Qumran. There was no temple at Qumran. What temple did the Most High sanction was built at Qumran? So they're just going into moralization mode, formation, rehearsing the righteous acts. They're not performing these things at the temple. They're not going to the temple and doing these things. Then he goes on to say, the priesthood is the most important part of the puzzle. They had to know exactly when to offer the sacrifices. And so far, my studies indicate that they were using a 12-month calendar for them to complete their courses in temple work. I agree. There's no beef there. I agree. Correct. I don't know if one can have a heavenly calendar without the priestly cycle in it. The rotation of the Zadok priest gives us a 7-day continual week, 364-day year of 52 weeks, 4 seasons, and 12 months. I understand that. Keep going. This rotation also ensured the priest stayed in order and everyone worked the same amount of days each year. And I think the 24 priests may have something to do with the 24 elders sitting around the throne, Revelation 4:4. That is completely unrelated. The Qumran scribes were not writing anything that pertains to something that happened in 90 plus AD. They were not there no more. In 90 AD, that the whole community was gone. They're not writing nothing prophetically that you see in the book of Revelation. They're not writing about Revelation 4:4. If you see anything in Revelation that plays off of what we see in Qumran, it's because it was done retrojected. And retroject is when they looked at all the reference texts, and Enoch was one of them, so they was familiar with at least the book of Enoch, as well as maybe some other things taught at Qumran, and they use those archetypes in Revelation. It wasn't the other way around. They did not refer to something that was revealed in Revelation as something prophetic. You'll never see no work like that at Qumran. It's not there. So that's what it is. As you can notice, I put the thumbs up for my brother Seth and thumbs down for him. That was done intently, right? All right, so let's back off of that. All right, let's back off of that for a second. Let's back off of that. Hey, watch this. I'll give you the scripts for the oil, wine, and wood, feast days or remembrance days. Okay, show me the feast days in Leviticus 23, Deuteronomy 16, and elsewhere of the festival of oil, wine, and wood, and I'll put some money on it. I want you to show me that. Let's put some money on it. Let's get the cash out. I didn't even open up my book yet. Shout out to the cash ass donations. Thank you, family. I appreciate that. All right. So we're going to do a cash app for you. He's going to show us the festival of oil, wine, and wood in Leviticus 23. I want to see it. So let me lay it out for you real quick. Hold on real quick. But trying to figure out. I'll do $100. $100 is good. Okay. All right. So we got a $100 cash app right here. All right. $100 cash app. So School of Skills in the Torah, show me the festival of oil, wood, and wine. Excuse me, oil, wine, and wood. Show me those festivals in the Torah. More particularly Leviticus 23. I'll wait. I got $100 here for you if you can show that to me. Now, while he's doing that, I'm going to fall back. Kavod, Yahu, Yasharal. The consensus is that those Zadokites, the one that Zadokites, were a branch off at that time, branched off and became what we know as the Sadducees. And a sect of them branched off and went to Qumran. When you look at 4QMMT and you look at the other texts that are there, the community rule and so forth, the language used there is similar language used by Sadducean priests. Josephus speaks about this. And not just Josephus, Philo speaks about this. And then we have some writings as well. Guess where? In the Talmud. Midrashim. We have a corpus of texts that talk about Sadducean doctrine. And guess what they align up with? What we see at Qumran. I'm gonna release another paper on this, man. It's light work, man. This is light. But let's get into it. All right, show me the scriptures. Show me in the scriptures. Where in Torah can we find those festivals? Where in the Torah can I find those festivals? Matter of fact, show me the Torah in or amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls where their text of the Torah has these feasts in it. Look what he's giving us. I said the Torah. He's going to say Nehemiah chapter 10, 39, Nehemiah 13, 5, Nehemiah 13, 12. Show us in the Torah where the Most High said, these are my feasts and festivals that you are to keep perpetually in the Torah. Huh? Notice how I said those are post-exilic inventions. Remember I just said that about Purim and Hanukkah and these festivals? These are all post-exilic inventions. I just said that. What you have at Qumran does not reflect pre-exilic practices. All right, let's get into the paper. I'm about to play with y'all right now. I'm going to get into this paper. Let's do this work. Let's do this work. This was light work. Let's do this work. Do this work. All right, so reckoning time within a fixed calendrical model, the theological construction of time at Qumran and its structural limits as an administrative system. I'm going to get into this work for you. I'm going to get into this work. All right, let's start here. Let me zoom in. I'm going to make sure this is crystal clear. You're going to get into this work. This is light. It's light. All right, here we go. We're going to keep reading, all right? We're going to keep reading. Revelation, idealization, and the limits of sacred time. This is the introduction. Calendar as theological totality. Few elements of the Qumran intellectual world have exercised greater influence over modern reconstructions of sectarian identity than the calendar. More than a system of chronological reckoning, the 364-day year preserved in the Dead Sea Scrolls has been interpreted as a comprehensive theological grammar, ordering cosmology, ritual, priestly service, communal separation, and covenantal legitimacy. From the earliest stages of scroll scholarship, the calendar has thus been treated not merely as a technical artifact, but as a revelatory structure, frequently identified with Enochian or antediluvian time and opposed polemically to lunar or observational systems associated with the Jerusalem priesthood. Yet, the very ambition of the Qumran calendrical model, its aspiration to be internally perfect, cosmically ordered, and eternally fixed, renders it particularly vulnerable to critical scrutiny. When evaluated simultaneously on astronomical, textual, historical, and sociological grounds, the 364-day system reveals a series of structural tensions that complicate claims of its long-term viability as a fully operative, divinely mandated calendar. These tensions do not invalidate the calendar's symbolic or ideological power, which I said in my preface before I started saying what I said right on this session. Rather, they illuminate the distance between calendrical idealization and calendrical administration in the late Second Temple period. This essay argues that the Qumran calendrical model is best understood as a theological construct of time, internally coherent at the level of symbolism and polemic, but structurally constrained as a practical system of communal reckoning. Anchored in the foundational premise articulated above, the analysis proceeds through 5 interrelated domains: astronomical drift, intercalation, internal plurality, lunar integration, and sociological feasibility. In each case, the goal is not to discredit the calendar polemically, but to demonstrate based on the primary sources themselves that its authority derives from ideological coherence rather than operational sufficiency. That's what I'm saying. I'm not here to undermine any of the relevance that the Dead Sea Scrolls have contributed to our knowledge of history, to our knowledge of the preservation of that sect at Qumran, to its biblical text preservation, etc. I'm not here to undermine that. I'm here to tell you what it is and what it ain't. And the problem is there's people here that are making it what it ain't, what it is. And that's the problem. So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Let's keep going. Astronomical drift and the problem of seasonal integrity. At the heart of the Qumran calendrical system lies its most celebrated feature, a year of exactly 364 days, divisible into 52 weeks of 7 days each. The elegance of this arrangement has often been taken as evidence of divine intentionality, a numerical harmony reflecting cosmic order. Yet, this mathematical symmetry comes at a cost. A year of 364 days falls short of the tropical solar year by approximately 1.2422 days. Over time, this discrepancy accumulates inexorably, producing progressive drift between calendrical dates and astronomical seasons. The implications of such drift are not merely abstract. Biblical festival legislation consistently presupposes seasonal anchoring. Passover is tied to the month of Aviv, weeks to the grain harvest, and tabernacles to the ingathering at the turn of the agricultural year. These assumptions are not peripheral, but integral to the cultic logic of the Torah and to subsequent Second Temple literature. As Saunier has demonstrated through exhaustive a comparison of biblical, Jubilean, and Qumran festival traditions, the cycle of festivals is repeatedly articulated in relation to seasonal realities, even when schematic dating systems are employed. The schematic dating system is what you see of the visions of the priesthood in alignment with the heavenly bodies and heavenly courses. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you regress in time with that calendrical model. I know people who have kept that 20, 30, 40 plus years, older than a lot of y'all, and have abandoned it because now they're keeping Passover in the wintertime. You know how insane that is to keep the Passover during the wintertime? Let's keep going. Within the Qumran corpus itself, the calendar is presented as the guarantor of cultic purity, ensuring that festivals are observed on their proper days. Yet the text nowhere address the long-term consequences of drift for seasonal alignment. Van der Kam notes this silence explicitly, observing that the calendrical text assume correctness without articulating mechanisms for preserving it across generations. The absence is striking precisely because the community framed calendrical error as a primary source of defilement and apostasy. We see this also explicitly in Jubilee. The problem, therefore, is not that the 364-day year conflicts with modern astronomy, but that it conflicts with the internal logic of biblical festival theology, which presumes that sacred time corresponds meaningfully to created time. Without correction, the Qumran calendar would eventually schedule Passover in winter and tabernacles in spring, undermining the very cosmological harmony it seeks to uphold. That is what I see with some people that are keeping it for 20, 30, 40 years. They're having Passover in the wintertime. Madness. Madness. But let's keep going. Intercalation and the silence of the text. Modern defenders of the 364-day calendar frequently respond to the problem of drift by proposing intercalation schemes. This is what you're going to hear a lot of people attempt to do. Periodic adjustments that would realign the calendar with the solar year while preserving its weekly symmetry. This is why one of the things that I propose is a Jubilean week, sabbatical week. Every 7 years, there is a 1 week sabbatical period of rest when no work is done. Therefore, the days are not calculated, and that's designed to realign the Enochian calendar with the seasonal events that occur as natural phenomena in the ecology of Israel. That proposition that I provided, I did a whole paper on that back in 2015. And I shared it on this channel. That was before I had Patreon. I shared it on this channel. I was a proponent of it. I supported it. Let's keep going. The calendrical documents from Qumran, particularly, the difficulty lies not in the ingenuity, but in the evidentiary foundation. The calendrical documents from Qumran, particularly those preserved in Cave 4, exhibit extraordinary schematic precision. Tables of priestly courses, festival cycles, and chronological correlations repeat with near mechanical regularity. Yet, within this abundance of numerical detail, explicit instructions for intercalation are conspicuously absent. Vanderkam emphasizes that while certain texts gesture towards longer chronological cycles or symbolic signs, none provides a clear, prescriptive rule for periodic adjustment of the year. This was not designed to be a lived calendrical model. The Dead Sea Scrolls reader reinforces this conclusion by allowing direct comparison of the calendrical texts themselves. Across the corpus, whether in Mishmorot lists, festival tables, or equation documents, the emphasis remains schematic rather than procedural. The calendar is displayed, not administered. It is shown as an ideal structure rather than a system requiring maintenance. Saulnier's analysis of intercalation debates within Second Temple Judaism further sharpens the issue. He demonstrates that where intercalation is clearly attested in Jewish sources, it is discussed explicitly and often contemptuously. The silence of the Qumran text on this point is therefore not neutral. It suggests the calendar was not conceived primarily as a flexible, adaptive instrument, but a fixed, revealed pattern. The fact that there was a pattern in the heavenly circuits, that is the order in which the priests are to follow to be in alignment with the Most High's revelatory will. And the reason why this is done as a means of reclamation of the time that the Gentiles, the Greeks, had distorted and contorted away from Israel. They felt it was their job to restore, and the only way to do that is to study the heavenly bodies and go into the recesses of past antediluvian revelation from Enoch and use that secret to restore the orders of the priests. They'll say, no, the priest was already doing this in the book of Chronicles. The priestly courses and the order that you see in Chronicles is not tied to the calendar. Qumran invented that. Let's keep going. Intercalation then functions less as an internal feature of the Qumran calendar than a modern solution to an ancient problem, a necessary supplement rather than inherited doctrine. Calendrical plurality within the Qumran archive. One of the most significant developments in scroll scholarship following the full publication of cave-form materials has been the recognition of calendrical plurality within the Qumran corpus. Earlier reconstructions often spoke of the Qumran calendar as though a single system governed the community uniformly. The primary text no longer sustains such simplicity. It's not monolithic. When somebody says that it's not monolithic, that means they haven't seen all the Mishmarot or they haven't looked at all the calendrical texts. The Dead Sea Scrolls reader preserves evidence for multiple calendrical schemes operating within the same textual environment, including a 364-day solar calendar, a schematic 354-day lunar calendar, and hybrid systems designed to correlate different cycles. These materials do not merely represent hypothetical alternatives. They are copied, preserved, and transmitted alongside one another. There's also a 360-day one there too. Vanderkam cautions against assuming that calendrical diversity necessarily implies sectarian fragmentation. Calendars, he notes, can function symbolically or pedagogically without being universally enforced. Saulnier situates this diversity within a broader Second Temple context in which multiple calendrical traditions coexisted, and sometimes competitively and sometimes complementarily. The implication is not that the solar calendar lacked authority, but that its authority was not exclusive. The presence of alternate systems complicate claims that the 364-day calendar functioned as a single, totalizing temporal regime governing all aspects of communal life. Let's keep going. Lunar integration and the persistence of the moon. Closely related to calendrical plurality is the persistent role of lunar reckoning within ostensibly solar frameworks. So ostensibly solar frameworks. Political readings of the Qumran calendar often portray it as a decisive rejection of lunar time in favor of solar purity. That's what a lot of proponents of this Enochian model, calendrical model, propose, that the moon is secondary. The moon is tertiary. The moon is just complementing the sun. And the reason for that is because the Greeks put the moon on a pedal above the sun. And they felt that they did that to change time. So they have to restore and say, no, it is the sun that should be superior and the moon should be inferior, not the other way around. It's a polemic or an apologetic, depends on how you see it, against the Grecian reckoning of time. The language in there denotes that. We don't have a fully extant Hebrew text of the book of Enoch. Hopefully y'all understand that. We don't have that. It does not exist. It doesn't exist. We don't have it. Let's keep going. So in this detailed analysis of the Book of Luminaries and Jubilees demonstrates that lunar cycles continue to inform calendrical reasoning even within traditions that privilege the solar year. The Dead Sea Scrolls reader preserves an explicit lunar solar text, 4Q317, confirming that lunar calculation was neither unknown nor irrelevant at Qumran. Enochian synthesized this evidence by categorizing Qumran calendrical thought as schematic and hybrid rather than rigidly solar or anti-lunar. The moon is subordinated but not eliminated. It remains part of the created order and, by extension, part of temporal reckoning. The hybridization undermines strict dichotomies between true solar time and corrupt lunar time. The calendar's theological rhetoric exceeds its actual practice. Sociological feasibility and lived time. This is one of the most important parts. Calendars are social technologies. They coordinate labor, ritual, exchange, and memory. For a calendar to function as a lived system, that is a theological schematic, it must be shared, enforced, and adaptable. The Qumran calendrical texts, by contrast, are overwhelmingly schematic, priestly, and symbolic. Sonia emphasizes that calendrical divergence becomes socially significant only when communities must coordinate action. The Qumran materials offer little evidence of such coordination beyond idealized priestly cycles. The Dead Sea Scrolls reader confirms that the text lacks the administrative markers, contracts, dated correspondence, and transactional records. So what does this mean? That means that Qumran, if they was actually using that calendrical model as a lived calendar, one that you would apply administratively, that somebody would use day to day, you'd have contracts that would be dated based on the calendar, correspondence that would be dated based on the calendar. And did you know that 4QMMT, that section where it mentions the works of the law, that it's not dated based on the calendrical system at Qumran, but yet that was a letter that they drafted up for the religious leaders in Jerusalem. But yet they didn't have a dated correspondence on that actual record of correspondence or a letter that they sent to Jerusalem. Transactional records, we don't have any transactional records with this dating system at Qumran. It's not there, meaning that they did not use it. The reason why it existed is to ensure that they had the priestly order correct, because they had Zadokites there that was Sadducean in their theological understanding that characterized lived calendrical systems elsewhere in antiquity. So we have these systems in the pre-exilic period where things are dated. We have correspondence, transactional records. We have all that. The Samaritan Ostracon is a great example of that, of things that are given, they're things that are dated with time, with an actual system that existed. Then we have the same thing while our ancestors was in captivity, whether it was in Elephantine Island through the Elephantine Papyri, or whether it is in the city of Al Yehuda, which we have an archive from. We have these things. And I even made another paper talking about the law before the scroll. Enochian therefore suggests that the calendar functioned primarily as an identity marker, articulating separation and legitimacy rather than regulating daily life. It was a calendar to think with, not necessarily a calendar to live by. Now I'm gonna go into some of part two, because I have 4 parts to this. I'm gonna go into some of part 2. I'm gonna tell you what the calendar is. What I just showed you above is what it ain't, but this is what it is. One of the most frequently overlooked dimensions of the Qumran calendrical model is the extent to which it is constructed around priestly logic rather than communal practice. The surviving calendrical texts are dominated by mishmarot lists, rotational schedules of priestly service, and schematic correspondence between weeks, festivals, and courses. These materials presuppose a conceptual world in which time is ordered primarily for cultic representation, not for agricultural coordination or civic administration. And for the record, I never said the priests only work for 8 months. I said they only calculate time for the feast days within 8 months. They're still working after those 8 months. Yeah, they're not calculating time for the feast days after those 8 months is over. They're not doing that. There's no need to do that. There's a civic calendar that them and the rest of society follows that has 12 months, as represented by the Gezer calendar. So I acknowledge there is 12 months in the civil calendar. If you watch my lecture, which was over 7 hours long in 2016, I mentioned this, but you're not going to do the research beforehand. You just want to critique off the rip. Okay. And then it goes on to say, Van den Kamp has noted that these texts are best understood as schematic representations rather than records of active temple administration. Why? Because the priests, the Zadokite priests at Qumran were not working the temple in Jerusalem. Anyway, they present an idealized cultic order that may never have been fully instantiated in practice, but nevertheless function as a powerful critique of what? Of the Jerusalem priesthood authority to regulate sacred time. Let's keep going. The calendar is, in this sense, operates analogously to other Qumran legal and ritual ideals. It defines what ought to be, not necessarily what is. This distinction is crucial. Calendars designed for real-world administration must accommodate irregularity, weather, harvest variation, political disruption, and astronomical drift. Calendars designed for theological polemic do not. That's why it's fixed. You should read Rollo Sasha Stern's work because he talks about this ad infinitum in his books. I shared this on the channel before. You can read it from my library off the Patreon. He goes into detail. You're looking at this from a limited scope. You're not aware of how time is reckoned and calculated in the ancient Near East. There's other fixed calendars that exist by other priests in the ancient Near East, but they were not used to govern time for administrative purposes. They were used to chart omens from the gods and patron deities like Marduk and Neo-Babylon. That's why I need somebody to come on stage. Shout out to my brother Ak Palau. He came on stage. Y'all see me and him have a back and forth. And I realized he had some gaps. And it's okay. It's a learning process. But for any of my opponents in the chat, I'm going to share a link with you, right? While I close this out. Because I want to see you come on stage and have a reasoned discussion. Okay? How would the priests get the wood to do sacrifices year-round? Are you aware of migration routes amongst the Bedouin, traders, and caravans in the Jordan area where the Qumran caves is at? That's how they would get it. They would barter trade or use coins. All right. The link is there. If somebody want to jump in who disagrees with this, the link is there. All right. All right, let's keep going. All right, the distinction is crucial. Calendar design for real administration must accommodate these irregularities. They require only internal coherence and scriptural plausibility. The Qumran calendar excels at the latter precisely because it is insulated from the former. It is not designed to be an actually lived calendar. Okay. Scriptural anchoring in the rhetoric of antediluvian authority. A central strategy by which the Qumran calendar secures its authority is appeal to antiquity, which is a logical fallacy, specifically to antediluvian revelation that they're proposing was espoused will be seen nowhere in the written text. Okay, by locating correct calendrical knowledge in the time of Enoch and the patriarchs, the system bypasses contemporary priestly arbitration altogether. Time itself becomes revealed law. Yet this rhetorical move introduces a paradox. Revelation, by definition, is fixed. History, by necessity, is dynamic. The calendar's claim to immutability depends on its disengagement from historical contingency, including observable astronomical change. The more strongly the calendar insists on revealed permanence, the less equipped it becomes to respond to empirical misalignment. Saunier's analysis of the Book of Luminaries demonstrates that even with Enochian traditions, calendrical description reflects compositional layering and internal adjustment. The very text that grounds solar time and revelation also preserves traces of evolving astronomical understanding and unresolved numerical tensions. This suggests that revelation functions less as a static deposit of technical data and more as a theological authorization framework within which calendrical reasoning continues to operate. The Qumran calendar inherits this tension. It presents itself as timeless, yet it is transmitted through historically situated texts that reflect debate, revision, and plurality. The appeal to antediluvian authority thus stabilizes the calendar symbolically while leaving its operational mechanics undetermined. If you have a 364 day calendar and you return on the same day of the week every year, that just goes to show you that you are drifting back regressively in time with that calendrical system. You are. And some of those calendars at Qumran were abandoned. Okay. But I don't expect my opponents to know much of that. But in a conversation, we can get into that. But as you can see, they never click the link, they never jump on stage, and never have the conversation. All right, shout out to Akpalau. That brother did do that. He attempted to do that. The semantics of precision, number, order, and the illusion of exactitude. The numerical elegance of the 364-day year has often been cited as evidence of a superiority over observational calendars. Precision, however, is not synonymous with accuracy. A system can be perfectly ordered and systematically wrong. The Qumran calendar's numerical precision operates at the level of internal proportionality. Weeks align with weeks, festivals recur on fixed weekdays, priestly courses rotate without reminder. This creates a powerful impression of exactitude, yet this precision is self-referential. It ensures that the system remains internally consistent, not that it remains aligned with external reality. The distinction is subtle but decisive. Observational calendars sacrifice internal symmetry for empirical accuracy. Schematic calendars do the reverse. The Qumran system chooses symmetry. Its precision is therefore rhetorical and theological, not astronomical. Vanderkam explicitly cautions against conflating schematic order with lived accuracy, noting that ancient Jewish texts frequently employ idealized numbers to express theological truths rather than technical measurements. Noah's Ark is an example of that. Research its dimensions and what they represent. Saunier similarly warns that numerical regularity in calendrical text should not be read as proof of practical implementation without corroborating administrative evidence. There's none. I told you, it's the lack of records, transactions, correspondence with their dating system on it. There's none there at Qumran. What emerges is not a failed calendar, but a different kind of calendar, one that encodes truth through structure rather than through adaptation. Remember, I'm not banging on it the way you think I am. I'm telling you what it is and what it ain't. Calendrical polemic and the construction of deviance. Another dimension of the Qumran calendar that demands attention is its role in producing deviance. By defining correct time with absolute rigidity, the system renders alternative reckonings not merely different, but sinful. You know, there's a lot of colorful language in regards to time reckoning at Qumran. Calendrical error becomes covenantal violation. This polemical function explains why the calendar is articulated with such uncompromising certainty despite its practical limitations. Its purpose is not negotiation, but demarcation. Time itself becomes a boundary marker separating the righteous remnant from the errant majority. You know, the same thing is referenced in regards to time at Qumran. Did y'all know that? Okay. All right. You know, where the text says that the moon, when it's full, is for the righteous and the darkness is for the sinful. You see that in the first, The irony, as Sonia observes, is that Second Temple Judaism was characterized by widespread calendrical diversity, including multiple lunar, lunisolar, and schematic systems. Against this backdrop, the Qumran insistence on a single correct calendar functions less as a neutral recovery of ancient truth and more as an assertion of interpretive sovereignty. The calendar thus participates in a broader Qumran strategy, redefining legitimacy by relocating authority from institutional centers to textual revelation, because they was not at Jerusalem. Time is weaponized theologically towards a reframe evaluation of the Qumran calendar. I'm gonna finish this section, part 2. Then I'm gonna give you a couple of notes and I'm closing out. Okay. And again, the link is there. If anybody who disagrees, you can jump on in and have this discussion. Yah gave Moses the book of Jubilees. Hey, School of Skills Inc., can you show me that in Torah? No. Use the Torah at Qumran. Show me the Torah Qumran where the Most High gave Moses the book of Jubilees. Did not Yah give Enoch the luminaries? Not in the written Torah, he did. He didn't do that in the written Torah. It's not there. Written Torah does not say that. You only get that from the book of Enoch. Even when the New Testament references the book of Enoch, it never mentions the book of luminaries. Fascinating, right? But that's a whole nother conversation. Let's continue to go into this, right? Let's read it. And I told you, adding festivals is a hallmark of post-exilic phenomenon. Okay. Hey, show me in the Tanakh, all the pre-exilic texts in the Tanakh, where a festival was added to Leviticus chapter 23. Pre-exilic. Show me a pre-exilic text where a new festival was created or added. Those are hallmarks of post-exilic phenomenon. Okay, let's finish this off because I gotta go in a few minutes. All right. When evaluated on its own terms, the Qumran calendrical model succeeds admirably. It produces a coherent, symbolically rich vision of sacred time that integrates creation theology, priestly order, and covenantal identity. Its failure lies only in expectations imposed upon it from outside, expectation that it functions as a fully operational, empirically adaptive calendar governing communal life indefinitely. You see that? I give it its props, but I'm telling you what it is and what it ain't. Y'all trying to make what it ain't what it is, and that's not the case. Once these expectations are recalibrated, the calendar's limitations appear not as flaws, but as signals of intent. It was never meant to be a civic instrument. It was meant to be a theological map of reality, a critique of corrupted authority, and a rehearsal of cosmic order. This is why there's a lot of heavy priestly language and how it only applies to the priestly arrangement. You notice when those brothers made those comments, they say, oh, yeah, without the priestly arrangement. Yeah, because this is why it was created. Not for civic use, not for the everyday Joe. Because y'all ain't got the esoteric knowledge on how the heavenly bodies work and operate. Let's keep going. In this sense, the calendar's very rigidity is its strength. It refuses compromise because compromise would undermine its polemical clarity. It resists adaptation because adaptation would acknowledge the legitimacy of alternate systems. Its authority is maintained not through adjustment, but through absoluteness. Now, let me scroll through all of this and let's get to the notes, right? Let's get to the notes. On the mathematical structure of 364 day year and its schematic elegance, the division of the year into 52 weeks of 7 days has long been recognized as one of the principal attractions of the Qumran calendar. Its numerical symmetry allows festivals and priestly rotations to recur on fixed weekdays indefinitely. See, because it's so tied on the priestly structure, order, and functions, this is why it ignores the seasonal reality of the Shana, the year. You're not going to have a barley harvest in the wintertime. That Feast of Ingathering only occurs at the turn of the year right before the wintry rains hit in Israel. That period of time does not happen months before, regressing into the summer, or months forward, because it's gone back so much into the winter time. Its numerical symmetry allows festivals and priestly rotations to occur on fixed weekdays indefinitely, reinforcing the impression of cosmic order. For early treatment of this feature, see James C. Vanderkam's calendars and the Dead Sea Scrolls measuring time. Vanderkam cautions, however, that such symmetry should not be confused with empirical accuracy, noting that ancient Jewish calendrical texts often privilege symbolic order over observational precision on astronomical drift in the solar year. A year of 364 days falls short of the tropical solar year by approximately 1.2422 days. Over time, this discrepancy results in cumulative seasonal drift. Sacker Stern emphasized that such drift would dislocate festivals from their agriculturally anchored context within a relatively short time, thereby creating tension with biblical festival theology. Stern's analysis is particularly important because it situates the problem not in modern astronomical anachronisms, but within the internal assumptions of ancient Jewish life on festivals and seasonal logic in biblical and Second Temple sources. Stephanie Saulnier's comprehensive treatment of festivals and seasons demonstrates that biblical and post-biblical sources consistently presume a meaningful relationship between cultic observance and agricultural cycles. Even when schematic calendars are employed, seasonal logic remains operative, suggesting that complete indifference to solar alignment would have been theologically problematic rather than merely impractical. On the science of Qumran text regarding drift correction. Despite the calendrical system's claims to correctness, the Qumran text never explicitly addressed the problem of cumulative drift. Van Camp highlights this absence as a significant feature of the corpus, arguing that it points towards idealization rather than administrative concern. The silence is particularly striking given the community's polemical emphasis on calendrical error as a source of impurity. Let me jump down. Stern observes that intercalation, if introduced, would disrupt the very schematic coherence that defines the 364-day system, particularly its alignment with priestly courses and fixed weekday festivals. This creates a structural dilemma. Correctness preserves seasonal alignment, but undermines symbolic order. Non-correction preserves order, but sacrifices alignment. Okay? On theological function of calendrical fixity, right? Sonia argues that the calendrical rigidity in Second Temple texts often serves theological and polemical functions rather than practical ones. Fixity signals trust in divine order and resistance to institutional mediation. Within this framework, the absence of intercalation mechanisms can be read not as an oversight, but as a refusal to concede interpretive authority. Taken together, the problems of drift and intercalation reveal a fundamental distinction between revealed time and administered time. The Qumran calendar resolves this tension by privileging revelation absolutely. Now, let me jump down to some appendices, right? To visualize the cumulative seasonal misalignment inherent in a fixed 364-day calendar and demonstrate why drift is not a hypothetical problem, but a mathematically inevitable one. The Qumran solar is 364 days. Negative 1.2422 days in a year. The tropical solar is 365.2422 days. That's the baseline. A cumulative drift over time. 1 year is 1 day and a quarter. 5 years is 6 days, 0.21. 10 years is 12 days and some change. 20 years is 24 days and some change. And 40 years is almost 50 days. If you follow that Enochian calendar and you choose one Wednesday to begin it in a year, whatever day of the year that is, in 40 years, you're going to drift 50 days. Within 2 generations, that's 80 years, almost 80 years, major pilgrimage festivals will no longer coincide with their biblically assumed agricultural seasons. This quantitative reality underlies the theoretical critique in part 1, confirming that drift is not a modern objection, but an internal structural tension. Look at this. Once Passover no longer coincides with Aviv, the calendar undermines the very scriptural logic it claims to restore. This reinforces the argument in part 1 that drift is not merely astronomical, but exegetical. Aviv is literally green in the air. The barley is not green in the air in the wintertime. This is insane. I'm going to stop here. Right? I'm going to stop here because we had time. Okay. All right. Mr. Shemzi, yes, it's on the Patreon. My brother, go and support it on the Patreon. The link is in the description below to the paper. All right. So watch this, right? I want to meet you in February. All right. So watch this, right? I don't have a problem with the priestly schematic order and functionality of the Enochian calendrical model. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's exact. I think it's precise. And I think it may very well have represented possibly an antediluvian system that might have existed before the flood that was revealed to Enoch. Okay, remember, what Enoch was revealing in the book of Luminaries was not a calendar. He was just looking at the heavenly bodies and their circuits, and they're going in and out of portals. He's just observing this. Nowhere does Most High say, now turn this into a calendar system to be used administratively amongst the Qumran caves and in Jerusalem. Where is that at in Enoch? But what I do see is the language from the book of Shemot or Exodus when the Most High says, this is the beginning of months for you. This is when you're going to have the Passover. I do see that. And I also see this in the biblical text at Qumran. The Exodus text in the fourth cave, where the calendrical texts are at. And before you say, I don't have the right books, I deal with the primaries, bro. You can't get more exact than that. I would love to have a sequential, point-by-point breakdown, meter-ass exegesis, whatever you want to call it, of all the Mishmarot. I'm going to show you so many things that was not translated appropriately. Okay. All right. But nobody's going to come in here to have this conversation, so it's going to be very difficult for me to pull this out. Pause. So when we have people like School of Skills, he says, who kept the calendar for Israel? Who kept the Torah and the writings for Israel? What do you mean who kept it? The scribes kept it. You had priests and you had scribes. You had the same thing in the first century. You had priests and scribes. Sadducees, they had some. Pharisees, they had some. The Essenes, they had some. And the Zadokites, they had some. Did you know that there were multiple texts, multiple scrolls? Did you know that the final redaction that was added to the Tanakh didn't happen until the 2nd century BCE? Are we talking about the Torah or the whole Tanakh? What are we dealing with when you ask a question like that? Who kept it? Various groups kept it. What are you talking about? We have archives in Egypt. The Geniza or the Geniza Cairo manuscripts. Those are texts. We have Palestinian texts that we found. We have some that was in Babylon by some of the Sanhedrin and other elders and sages that relocated there in about the 5th century. Philo was reading from some, and they were the part of the Septuagint because he didn't know Hebrew colloquially. He had some there in Egypt and Alexandria as well. They was all over the place, bro. There were synagogues everywhere. Come on, man. What is you talking about, bro? The priests kept the scrolls and the calendar. No, some scribes did as well. Some of the scribes who was exiled as well. You don't know the whole history, bro. I'm coming here to say this. I just created this to tell you what the calendrical model in Enoch is and what it ain't. I'm not trying to make it what it ain't, and I'm not trying to make it what it is that it ain't. It was not designed to be a lived calendrical model. It was not. That was not its purpose. If you try to apply it as such, you're going to regress in time, and you're going to be having Passover or Aviv. Crazy. Aviv, you're going to be having Aviv in the wintertime. Did you know that when it comes to lambs, because you're supposed to get a lamb that's young, right? It's about a year old or so forth, right? Did you know lambs, their reproductive cycle is disrupted by the winter? Did you know that? In the wild. Domestically, you can create any conditions, artificial conditions, but in the wild, you're going to have a problem, bro. It goes on a scale beyond just talking about Qumran. You don't have a scribe that can just write holy books. No, they copy it. What are you talking about? Hey, bro, let me ask you a question. Did all the priests go to Qumran? Did every priest, Israelite priest, did all of them go to Qumran? Yes or no? If you say no, then it's going to be some scrolls elsewhere. Stop it. There wasn't just one scroll of the Tanakh. Stop it. What are we doing here? Hey, didn't Jesus go to the synagogue in Jerusalem and read Isaiah? Did Jesus go to Qumran to read it? Did Yeshua go to Qumran to read Isaiah, or did he read it in a defiled temple or a defiled synagogue or a defiled place for doxology to occur in Jerusalem and locally where he was at Nazareth? Where did he read? Where did he read that scroll from? Did he read that scroll from Qumran? Look what he said. Some stayed at the temple, some to Egypt. And did you know that all these manuscripts have differences amongst them? This is why textual criticism exists. Brother, you're out of your league, bro. I'm gonna fall back. Hey, yo, y'all time him out again. Let me close out. Time him out again. He don't want to click the link. He don't want to jump in and have a conversation. He never wants to get on screen and have a heart-to-heart conversation. He never wants to do that. He never wants to do that. He never wants to do that. So because he doesn't want to do that, we're going to put him on timeout. You go in the kitty corner. You go in timeout. You never want to click the link, jump in a discussion, and have a talk, brother. Brother, I let you stay on this channel. I did not block you from this channel. I did not mute you from this channel. Sometimes you may get timeout if you're being belligerent, right? Like you are right now. But what I'm saying is I let you stay on this channel, and you have yet to convince me or others that the model that you follow is superior than the one that we present here at KChat. It's not a lived system. Simple. You're not going to click the link. Simple. If I'm wrong, get on here and teach me. Don't copy and paste stuff in the chat that you're regurgitating. Show me that you've handled these texts, that you went and actually seen some of them, that you studied them, that you spoke to experts about it, that you have read thoroughly on the subject matter, brother. Do that and convince me. And then maybe you have the strength and the courage and the boldness. The righteous is bold as the lion. The boldness to come on here and have a civil dialogue. But you don't want to do that. You just want to troll from the chat. You want to cheerlead this system without examining its pitfalls, its shortcomings. You don't want to do a gap analysis on it. You don't want to do anything with it because you're taking it as presumed truth. How many days in a year? 365 and some change. I rounded it to 365 and a quarter. That's how much is in a tropical year. So you have the sun here. Here's the earth tilted on its axis. That's rotating and that's going around the sun. And that is marked by what we call a tropical year, which means the same point in time that we have the seasons begin is the amount of time you count going from that season all the way back around to the same season itself. You use the sidereal year, which is the stars, as the background for where the sun rises, and then use the moon to demarcate the months, where the sun anchors the days. And then the year, right, that we have is based on the stars or the backdrop of the stars in which the sun rises up against. That constellation changes over time. What Moses saw in his time and what we see in 2026 is different. What Abraham saw in his time, what Noah saw in his time to what Moses saw in his time is different. Those constellations change or shift over time. Your calendar does not account for that. So I'm simply telling you, there's a priestly calendar overlaid onto a civil calendar, and then there's regnal calendars that operate side by side with those compositional layers as it pertains to a calendrical system. The last point I'm going to make, the KHM, ancient pre-Israelite sacerdotal menological model, is not something that I created. It's not something that KHM created. is something that we're restoring. It had to be re-engineered for the to best represent the pre-exilic component of it that's mentioned in Scripture. There's no intercalation mentioned anywhere in the Bible for the calendrical model that is used by the priesthood to calculate the feast days. None that says if you're counting time and if you're out of alignment with the seasons, with the date that you get for Passover, then this is what you do. That's not in Scripture. It's not there. And it's not there intentionally. You don't have to fix what's not broken. All we did was rediscovered what Yah already placed there. All praises to the Most High. No, he didn't do it yet, Truth. If you want an interpretation of John 1:1 in the interim, go check out the debate that I did with Jada Smoke on Clubhouse, and I put that video here on YouTube. Check it out. All right. And as you can see, he ain't clicked yet. All right, so we're going to close out, family. So thank you for watching, family. I'm going to say it again. This is not a shot at the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is not a shot at the Yahad community. This is not a shot at the Zadok priest there. They've done their part to preserve wisdom, information, and the priestly symmetry, order, and functionality. They preserved that for us to study today. There's a lot of stuff that they preserve that is antiquated, and a lot of stuff they preserve that is contemporary to their period of time when we see the formation of those communities at Qumran in about the 2nd century BCE. They've also preserved the biblical texts. They have the earliest record of biblical texts that we have today. They have it at Qumran. So we got to give them credit for doing that. Those priestly scribes did a great job of preservation. They intend for it to be preserved because they intended to go back and get it, but they was never able to go back after the Romans occupied those caves. We have Latin text there that Roman soldiers were writing. They kicked all of them out. They resituated everything that was there. It was looted. It was robbed. It was stolen. Those priests who left those caves and was never able to come back and get it. So that information was not for outsiders. School of Scales is over here defending a group that did not even want him to have that knowledge. You know how crazy that is? Whereas the Torah is written for the layman and the king both to have. Huh? Let's get back to Bible. All praise to the Most High. So those who keep the Sabbath, Shabbat Shalom. I love you, family. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here with us. Hey, sometimes when you do BTA, it hurts. And I don't like doing BTA all the time, only when it's necessary. But because the brother left a comment, I wanted to address his comment in full, not only just with words, but with the written paper. And if I have to do another presentation, I'll do it in June on the 10-year anniversary when we presented this calendrical model. This June, for matter of fact, for Feast of Weeks, I'll do a more condensed, streamlined presentation of what I did in 2016, updated and everything. I'll do that this June because it'll be the 10-year anniversary since we revealed that calendrical model. And I'll do it. And I'll add the Enochian component and all of that. All right. DSS wreck your doctrine. That's why you have those bad books in his library. I have those bad books in his library. I don't know who the his is, the third person there, but I don't have bad books in somebody else's library. What is you talking about? Bro, I told you I go to the primary. When you do that, then you can talk to me. How about that? I want to know too, because I've heard you say he was martyred and didn't die for sins. Forgive me if I'm misrepresenting you. Yeah, I said that he was martyred, and he was martyred for the sins of Israel. He was, but he was martyred. That's the key thing. And when you know what martyrdom is, and that language that comes after Justin Martyr, then you understand why I'm using that term in order to define what occurred. I have a lecture already on this. That lecture is on YouTube where I go into detail about this. Been teaching this since what, 2017? No, 2016. 10 years. Oh, 10. It's been 10 years since I've been teaching that. Again, I did a lecture in 2017, 2018 on this subject matter. This one is on human. So this one is on capital punishment for human atonement in the Bible. So we deal with human sacrifices in that lecture. In that lecture, I go into detail about what Yeshua actually did, right? And what happens is it becomes sensational to Christians when they hear this because they don't understand the Ebionites, the Nazarenes, and their perspective on what occurred to Yeshua at the Stauros when he was martyred. They see it in another theological fashion that is foreign to the Jews of the time who were Messianic. And because it's foreign to them, they scapegoat it and they treat it as such. All right. Okay. All right. All right, family. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your time. I'm going to close off there so my family can come on and I can love on them and enjoy them. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate y'all. Again, eat the meat, spit out the bones. My paper is available. Click the link in the description to take a look at it. You can read it for yourself, critique it, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to put this challenge out there one more time for the opponents that are consistently in my chat on Freestyle Fridays. If you disagree with this information, click the link that I put in the chat, get on camera, and let's go into it. Anybody can be behind a camera where you can't see them, typing, not even speaking, and pulling random information and adding it. But it takes a man to get on camera, look each other in the face, and let me see what you got in here. Huh? Let me see what you got in here off the dome. Huh? I don't need the computer or anything like that. I can do this off the dome. It's a light bar. Why? Because I put that much time and effort into studying the Qumran caves and all the contents therein. Not just the text. I also study the material culture that you haven't touched yet. The material culture also disrupts your calendrical model, but that's a whole nother conversation. I'll reserve that for another time. Thank you for watching, family. I appreciate it. BTA is going to hurt sometimes, but sometimes it's necessary. And open rebuke is always better than hidden love. I love y'all. I thank you for your time. I appreciate you for being here. I got to go. I will be live again next week. Keep me in your prayers. I pray for y'all as well. Support the channel by going to www.patreon.com/divine prospect. The other donation links is in the description below. If there's something that we can do to assist or help you in any way, in any capacity that we can, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. If you want to schedule a session to chat with me one-on-one, click the link in the description below. And we have a bunch of services, programs, and products that you can patronize in the description in order to keep this channel flowing. And you can also support the R&D that goes to the research behind papers that's produced, such as the one that you just saw today. All right. So shout out to my brother Jordan's Connect in the building. Truth More 23. Shalom. Brulings Network. Shalom. And anybody else that I've missed, I want to say peace and shalom. My brother Double T, the Hebrew. Shalom. I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next live stream, family. Peace and shalom. Shalom.